Ahoy, mateys! 'Tis I, Captain Horatio Honeyflakes, and I be here to tell you about me newest crowdfunding campaign. The adventures continue with me crew, the Mighty Mascots, in issues 7, 8, and 9. Just focus your looking glass on the amazing artwork of Ian Warianto and Anton Bondi. Me crew, the Mighty Mascots, are up against some scurvy scallywags, and we need ye help to defeat them. There be a bounty of exclusive treasure, only available here, where X marks the spot. I spy a huge coffer of bonuses and stretch goals on the horizon. Then please consider pledging so we can continue these adventures with the weirdest crew I ever had the pleasure of sailing with. Mascots Unleash!
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Indie Comics Relay. I'm your host, Keith Gleason, creator of the Mighty Mascots. With me, as always, is Johnny C., creator of Sartana and Surrounded by Death. Hey, man, how's it going? Long time no see.
I know, right?
For you guys that didn't know, that me and Johnny, right before this live stream, we were recording a video with Johnny and guest Tony Sadani about their experiences at SPX Expo this past weekend. I know if you're an indie creator, that's like a show that everybody's kind of interested in. So check out the channel on Sunday. I'll probably have that video up, and we'll talk about everything from the vendor experience to the consumer experience on that channel. So on that episode, I mean, and they actually had some good points and good insights into that convention, which is great.
We shatter the mystique on SPX for
you. We get down and dirty with SPX. We get behind the scenes, So how's it going, buddy? I didn't really get to talk to you all that much in between videos because it was like we literally turned it off and went right to this one, so
we hit the post literally.
We did. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, I've been I had SPX this past weekend. You were at the Start Festival, right?
Yes, excellent show too, which I'll get into that as well. Probably in another video,
but real quick on that, how crazy you were so successful at a non-Comic-Con.
Right? And I think it helped that it was art. Like, I think like everything there, like it's called Start, which is like ST, and then they put a big emphasis on art, So one thing I was really impressed with, they juggled like over 300 artists, and the organization was the best I've ever dealt with at a convention. Like, unbelievably well organized. We were in perfectly easily and out perfectly easily, and it was just like none of that like fumbling and like you gotta go do this. It was just like not a lot of nonsense. So
very streamlined.
You can tell they've been doing it for years, and the crowds were amazing. So yeah, that was a really good one. I'll definitely talk about that in length in another video.
Yeah.
But you said also before we bring in tonight's guest, which I've been excited for this show for a while, you had some stuff you wanted to show off, right?
Yeah. I brought show and tell. Before we called it unboxing, but really this is just show and tell.
Okay. So you didn't unbox anything. Okay.
Well, I do have a box too, so
okay.
I'll get to that. First off, my cousin used to own a comic book shop in Newton, Massachusetts called Pop Comics. That's my cousin, okay. Roger Morocco. Sometimes he's on
the show. Yeah, sometimes
he's on the show in the chat. Yeah. So we're going through comic books together, and he was so gracious enough before I left his house that day that he goes, "Here you go. Thanks for all your help." And he and this is not indie at all, but he graced me with a copy of Submariner #1.
Nice, that's awesome.
Which is real sweet, awesome. Like probably a 6.5, maybe a 7 on a good day.
Great. Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, it was just real cool, real generous of him.
That's book's going to be
for him,
through
I
the
wouldn't
roof
be in
right
comics,
now. Yeah. I was saying that like that book's gonna be through the roof as far as worth right now. You know.
Oh yeah, for with Black, with Black
Black
Panther and
Panther
stuff for
too. Yeah,
sure.
definitely.
And the other thing I got in the mail, I was shocked. I got this package here.
Okay.
A guest we had on the show recently, Gary Dumm, I was very enthralled by his works, so I decided to get his book Fire in the Water
Okay.
that he talked about. But he sent me a box full of stuff.
Oh wow.
So
Oh
he
my
sent
God.
me a bunch of stuff here. So I just want to unbox it real quick.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
share with
I
everybody.
want to see what. So Gary Dumm is the artist on American Splendor. We had him on the show a couple weeks ago. I was very ill prepared for that interview. I would have loved to talk to him more about American Splendor and things like that. But we'll have to have him back and talk to him about that all that stuff. I do have a ICR bits going up Friday with Gary Dumm, and we just talked where I cut out all the bits where we talked about Cleveland and the indie scene there. So that'll be a nice video if you didn't catch it originally.
Nice.
But so let's see what you got. You Fire on the Water.
Fire in the Water. This is like this book would have been perfect at SPX. It's just a weird it's a nonfiction comic of his and another creator that is about a weird piece of history.
Okay.
Just subterranean history about literally fire on the water. I thought that was pretty cool.
So there's that one big thick hardcover.
One big thing.
Oh,
look at the thickness of
wow,
that.
look at that. That's awesome.
It's a nice book. I can't wait to crack into this. I actually chatted with him a little bit about a story that I want to tell about a weird piece of Boston history that he's just telling me, he's motivating me to, just kind of pursue it and to do it. And
nice.
It was just really cool. And like seeing this book is kind of inspiring for that. You know what I mean? I told him I shared that with them.
I mean, like he's like one of the indie legends, so it's
he's the real deal for sure. And he just put a nice little note here saying, I've included a few other of my comics for you for your delectation and amusement. Hope you enjoy them. Best, Gary D.
Look at that. What a nice guy.
I know. Real sweet guy. I told him we'd love to have him on the show again in the future. Oh, wow.
Did he do a drawing for you?
Yeah, it looks like I got a sketch in the back there.
Oh, wow. Look at that. That's awesome.
That's really cool.
That's great.
He gave me a book called Zombie Moon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool, dude.
And it's got I think this has got newspaper print on the inside.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So this is cool. I got Zombie Moon. I got something called looks like Dip Stories.
Okay. That's cool.
Let's see. Bulletproof.
Oh, nice.
That looks kind of interesting.
Yeah, that does look kind of interesting.
Yeah, I can't wait to crack into that. And Snark. This looks like something out of a cracked magazine kind of thing. You know what
dude.
I mean?
See, that's what I picture when I think about indie, like the real deal, old school indie comics. Is I think about those kind of covers and like.
Yeah.
Wow, he sent you a lot of stuff.
He sent me a lot, and just want to thank him. Thank you very much, Gary. I can't wait to read all these. Very generous. We can't wait to have you on the show again.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great. So you basically bought the book, and then he sent you all that stuff extra.
Yeah, he sent me a bunch of extras. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Really cool
dude.
of him. Real sweet of him too.
Awesome. And then also, I want to always gotta just pop it up real quick. Mighty Mascots 7, 8, and 9 is still going. We got 12 days left, and I am about $200 away from unlocking the pirate eye patch for all physical backers. So
come on, people! I want the eye patch.
Yes.
Need to get in there.
I think we'll get that. I mean, we got 12 days left. I can't see how we wouldn't hit that, but you never know. But any support out there? The books are coming along great. Issue 7's already done. And issue 8 started this week, so we're already chugging along, trying to get these books so they can be in your hands by next summer, which I think we can more than likely deliver before that, hopefully. So
which is awesome.
Yeah, that's why I want to
you're pacing ahead.
Overpromise. Was it under? What's the word? Like you want to
Under promise, over deliver.
Yeah, that's what it was. I was mixing it up there. Dyslexia or something.
Gets the best of us, my man.
Oh yeah, definitely. So check that out. The link is in the video as always, or in the description. So check that out. Hopefully we can get there in the next 12 days or so. And then also real quick, just want to see who we got in the chat tonight. We got Dr. Mass so far. Hey, hail Keith, hail Johnny. Good to see you, buddy.
What's up, guys?
Wow, nice. He must be talking about your Submariner, which
Submariner #1, yeah.
And then what did he say here? History comics. You never know who you might catch on those people who may not normally buy comics. Yeah, definitely.
That's true.
I agree. Like that's something different. So we've had Global Comix on a couple times throughout since we started this show. What, 2 years ago now at this point, or something like that?
This might be their third time on.
Yeah, I mean we've been going for a while, which is amazing. And they're always innovating. I've said over the last couple of years that I think Global Comix is definitely a little more recognizable than Comixology at this point. I hear more about Global Comix than Comixology. Would you say that's true on your end as well?
On the indie side of things, for sure. I feel like, and it's funny, like when I first met those guys at C2E2 2020,
yeah,
it was like I turned to another one of my creator friends who I won't put on the spotlight right now, and I go, I feel like these guys can usurp Comixology. And he laughed at me. And now he fully believes that.
Oh, that's
and it's
awesome.
just one of those things that's just like, it was so awesome to watch them grow. And also for them to see how receptive they are to the feedback and to actually implement it. I'm kind of proud of one of the features that they've implemented recently that I'm sure when Chris comes on, he'll tell us about, because I was definitely like waving the red flag for it, saying that we should do this. So
nice.
I'll let him get into it though.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing I wanted to say too is when you first brought them on the show 2 years ago, I had never heard of them. Like they were just kind of like starting out. I think they were going, but it was very, it was like, and now 2 years later, they're like kind of like a juggernaut. It's like, it's pretty awesome, So I gotta definitely say kudos to that. So without further ado, let us bring Chris from Global Comix into the show. Hey, Chris, thanks for joining us for the third time.
Hey, Chris, good to see you, man.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you're backstage listening to us praise Global Comix, and we mean every word, like
oh man, it's so heartfelt, so heartfelt.
Awesome. Well, I know like because when Johnny gets excited about something, like I know there's something there, like, and he 2 years ago when he talked to you guys, he was like, these guys are going to be a game changer. And like, he was 100% right. I think you guys are at the point where you're going to surpass like Comixology, because I think like you guys, I get the feeling you guys care more about comics than Comixology does. Like, would that, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I can definitely say this. It's not even the comics that we care about. It's the creators. We care about this community, and we care about the people, and we want, everyone on the team genuinely wants everyone to be successable.
Awesome. I loved hearing that.
I think that's probably, maybe one of the biggest differentiators.
Yeah, no, and I like honestly, like you guys went from I'd say obscurity like 2 years ago to like I hear people constantly on Twitter and other places talking about Global Comix. So I was like, that's, right there. It's like the word has gotten out, I think, that, Global Comix is a player now, in the indie comic scene,
I had this moment earlier on this year. And I think I tweeted something about it like about a month or so later, but I had this realization that, when our Discord filled up and, there were 200 creators online, like discussing with each other and doing stuff and going into voice chat and like streaming with each other and whatever. And like the community kind of invaded Twitter, and like all of these organic conversations are happening all around me. And I'm like, Global Comix isn't mine anymore. It's everyone else's. Like this is no longer my thing. This is now something that people have adopted and embraced and made part of their own identity. And I think that being cognizant of that and being respectful and mindful of that as we continue to grow and do things and launch and change and improve and innovate is going to be paramount.
Awesome. Yeah, I love hearing that because I think that's what the indie community loves is they want a platform that they feel like is their own. Wouldn't you say, Johnny? It's
I've always said that I felt empowered as a creator when I'm uploading my comics on Global Comix because they make it super easy. They make it very customizable. It's super integrated. I can check out my own analytics. It's everything that a YouTube creator would want, but in the comics realm, in the comics format, things that Comixology, I don't think to this date are offering. So really, Global Comix has done just a smashing job of empowering the creator. And when Chris says that, that he, it's more about the creator community and it's more about the reader community, it's genuine. I can feel that when I use the product.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Then and you guys are always tweaking and adding new features and things like that. And I know that was part of the reason to come back on the show is you guys have added a ton of new stuff. I know the last time we had you on, I think you guys had done the COVID anthology. And I think, was that about a year ago? Was that about a year ago, maybe?
I don't. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So summer 21.
Yeah. So it's been it's been a little over a year. So, so what's been going on in the last year and a half?
Oh, gee.
Yeah.
Wait. Can I pull up my commit logs?
Yeah, that'd be great. We want to know everything.
Well, I know there's a lot of partnerships that you guys recently had, big partnerships. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, so what's been going on at the core? What we have been focused on, primarily for the last 2.5 years, and going to continue to be focused on also, but shifting a little bit when our app comes out later on, is kind of getting creators and publishers onboarded into the platform, right? Bringing in enough comics so that when readers come in, they're like, okay, well, there's actually a lot of shit that's interesting here for me. I'm going to stick around, right? I think that's one of the hardest things with starting a comics platform. And I think that everyone underestimates. It's oh yeah, I'll make this product, and then you kind of need to really, really invest a lot of time and energy into getting the comics on, and then being respectful and courteous and promotionary and supportive and all those things of all the creators that you bring in, without kind of leaving folks behind. And so, these first 2.5 years have been very much focused on the creator. And it's been around tools and improvements for publishing, right? And bringing a standard of analytics that's, that's pretty much ubiquitous elsewhere, like Google Analytics style, YouTube Analytics, all of these other media formats have data presentation layer. The comics hasn't had, right? So that was kind of part one, and then part two was thinking about how can we help creators before they even start making comics, right? So at the end of last year, we launched our talent marketplace, which is kind of a commissions and jobs board listing section of our site, where creators can, they can put themselves for hire, or they can list out their project and say, I'm looking for, I don't know, an editor, an illustrator, translators, Spanish, translator, German, etc. And then folks can kind of, discover through our filtering system and what have you. These listings apply, and the entire kind of flow actually takes place inside of the Global Comix platform, right? Like private conversations, etc. And when the creators are ready for it, they can exchange private information like email and whatever, and continue elsewhere. Perfectly fine. But it does provide, that kind of like separation between what's my private stuff and like what's available to people initially. And that's been very successful. I've seen dozens of these listings come in, and it always surprises me how people end up finding them, because I look at our analytics, and like the entrances into the talent marketplace is all over the place.
Oh, really?
Private forum sites, Facebook groups, various subreddits. People put that stuff in their Twitter bio. It's literally all over the place, and people are finding work or finding coworkers or teammates to work with this way.
That's awesome. So you actually are putting creators together on top of like getting indie books out to people, which is amazing. That's so is this at the Global Comix website that
yeah, it's
talent?
When you hit the site on your desktop browser, it'll be in the top where it says jobs and commissions.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great little feature.
So that was kind of like a big thing. And then we started kind of rolling out our reader facing features towards the end of last year. We rewrote the reading experience for supporting vertical comics, and I think it was September of last year. And then in January or February, we launched a new version of our single page reading experience that, worked a lot better on mobile devices and worked a lot better on desktop. And then around, I'd say February 16, 17, 18, there was this big outrage on Twitter where, someone made some changes to an app and it didn't really work out in the best possible way. And we were kind of like, here's a learning opportunity for us. So, we spent like 5 days scourging through Twitter conversations and seeing like, okay, well, what do people really want, right?
Yeah, like what is the real problem here, and like what can we do to like actually fix that for people? Yeah, that's great. That's what's good about Global Comix. You guys are kind of listening to everybody and kind of doing something different, which I think is really working.
It is actually kind of hard to go wrong if your core philosophy and your foundation for building a business is having conversations with your constituents and then solving their problems. If you make that your modus operandi, more likely than not, are you going to at the very least find very loyal customers, but find success eventually.
So when you listen to that, are you listening to both the consumer and the creator to find it, kind of fine tune that experience for everybody?
I mean, we listen to everyone, and we don't just listen to what is said. We listen to what isn't said.
Gotcha.
And equally, there's just as much learning opportunity from people that perhaps even more, from people that make giant mistakes than people that do things well. Especially in the web world, right? Like if you do something really, really, really well, it's like, oh, cool, it just works. And sure, over time you kind of like build a following, and that's what we've done. But like it's not like that thing hits Twitter and there's 50,000 people going like, right. But our biggest takeaway from that earlier on this year was two things on the reader side. It was people wanted to be able to read comics in like a double page reading mode, like the full spread, beyond images that were already double page size. And the other was they wanted the ability to collect their digital comics in like downloadable format, DRM free downloadable format. Because like services come and go, and sometimes people aren't around with an internet place, or they're on their laptop or their desktop or whatever. People have preferences, right? And so directly from that couple of days of Twitter, we rolled out double page reading mode, I think 6 days later. And it instantly it instantly shut out to 15 to 20% of people reading comics adopted that immediately.
Gotcha. So when you say, let me just stop you there for 1 sec. So when you say double page reading mode, that's when your comic has a 2-page spread. So when you're viewing it, it would just blow up to the entire 2-page. Is that what you mean by that?
Reading two pages at a.
We do something really cool, right? When you're making your comics, you're making your PDFs, you have choices, right? One choice is do your portrait mode page, and then do your landscape mode page. And landscape mode page is usually a double page spread image, but it's one image, right? And when people talk about, well, I want to hold comics in my hands, very often they're I want to see both pages at the same time, even when it's not a single image.
Right.
So we built this piece of magic technology that kind of just takes the pages and stitches them together in the reading experience.
Oh, that's cool.
And it uses some smart detection for trying to understand how do you how do you stitch them together? Which pair is it? Do you start on the first or do you start on the second, for example? We also gave creators a tool for kind of indicating an override, right? If they, for some reason, happen to have uploaded the wrong count of pages or had an extra credits page in between or whatever, and things weren't lining up. So that works. And what that essentially means is, you have all of these pages that are fantastic, but now when you're on a bigger screen, or a really great resolution tablet, you're actually looking at the 2 pages side by side, every single view, and you get the full, I wouldn't say tactile experience, but you get the full visual immersive experience.
Gotcha. Yeah, because that was always a tough thing if you had a 2-page spread. Even in Comixology, I don't think it did well with that kind of stuff. Or it was very, I don't know, it would always scan all over rather than bring up the full image or something like that. So that's cool. I'm glad you guys figured that out.
It does a really good job of emulating the, like Chris said, reading in person experience digitally. Yeah,
that's awesome.
And that's something that you don't see in other sites, and that's a very awesome feeling when you're flipping through, because a lot of comics are written for that format. So when a digital can kind of emulate that, then it's kind of taking that one extra step.
Definitely.
The one thing we didn't do was animate the page turns or make those sound effects that can live in the aughts. We're not going back there ever.
Well, I feel that's just extra garnish,
that's kitschy. Yeah.
Well, yeah, when you read a digital comic, you just want to read the comic, right? So it's all that other stuff is kind of you're watching an animated slideshow on Instagram at that point.
Do you remember the initial versions of iOS where you had that skeuomorphic design where everything had to look like its real life counterpart before they simplified everything?
Yeah, I remember.
It's kind of like that.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
They do have a panel per panel view though that does automate the process, and it does kind of make it feel a little bit like a slideshow, but I feel like in the sense on Global Comix, it turns the book into a very cinematic experience. I personally enjoy going through and isolating my panels and presenting basically where the reader's eye is going to go next on the page. And there's some really fun things and creative things you can do with that on Global Comix that you can't do anywhere else.
Yeah. That's cool. That's one thing I think is great about the Global Comix experience is the creator decides how the reader views it versus Comixology just guessing at what people might want. I love that about Global Comix.
The creation process doesn't end after the book's been printed.
Yeah, exactly.
You can take an extra step.
I mean, does it ever really end?
No,
What's that?
no,
No,
I mean,
not really.
whenever you do a new printing, it's like, all right, here come the more tweaks, you know?
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite things that they recently rolled out that Chris mentioned was the DRM free content. So, and this is one of the things I was chirping in their ears about for a long time, saying that, well, every Kickstarter campaign always has a digital file where you have to refer a Dropbox or a Google Drive link for people to get their PDFs for their digital delivery. Well, I mean, now Global Comix has the method where you can download that content from the comic page. So technically, you can do your your crowdfunding digital fulfillment right through the Global Comix page, where they can download it or they can view it on the site, or both.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, talk a little bit about that, Chris.
Yeah, I mean that was the other like big thing, right? Like that came out of it. So it took us about 6 months to go from there's a lot of people that are talking about wanting this, to actually bringing it out live. And the first 3 months was really about research. There wasn't a lot of doing, more so of kind of like having conversations with folks, both on the creator side and on the consumer side. We actually ended up doing a poll for which kind of file format people wanted. I know that in the comic space, there's kind of two buckets, right? Like there's the CBR or CBC folks, and then it's like the PDF folks.
Yeah.
So in order to not pick a side, we did a poll, and we got a couple of hundred votes, and PDFs won by like 76%. It was a complete landslide.
Oh wow!
So we're like, all right, we're gonna do PDFs, and then we started thinking about this, and we're like, okay, well, how do we roll this out, right? Because it's kind of like launching Global Comix all over again, in that if we just made it and like made it live and like, ta-da, it's here, there would be no books there, like nothing will be for sale,
right.
And that's not what we wanted. So we did this slow roll kind of thing where we made the interface for people to set prices and start getting ready, and let people know that this was coming. And we had that for I don't know, like 3 months, 4 months, something like that. And then towards the end of the summer, I was visiting my family back in Europe, in Norway, and I was there for a month and a half. And I had all of the time in the world, right? Like to actually finish this PDF downloads service. And then, as it so happens, I managed to break my hand with 3 weeks to go, right before shipping PDF downloads. And I'd pushed like the writing of the code to like, okay, well, I'm only going to need a week to like do all of this. Okay. So I'm going to spend time here with my family and whatever. And then I'm like, it was my right hand that was broken too. And so, the day of, when I realized that it was broken, like I had two thoughts in my mind. The first was, how the hell am I going to go to the restroom? And the second was, how the hell am I going to get PDF downloads live?
Man, wow, what a predicament.
Well, isn't that always the case when you got something important to do, something else just gets right in the way,
So what'd you do, Chris?
Let's just say that time and me are not best friends anymore.
Okay. I was going to say, did you get the pencil in your mouth and start pecking at the keyboard that way,
So the first thing that I thought, right, was like, oh my God, it's my right hand. This is going to be terrible. How am I going to do this, right? Turns out, if it had been my left hand, it would have been way worse. Like I wouldn't have been able to finish PDF downloads on time. So I had this big cast from about here and all the way down, and it covered these 3 fingers here.
Okay.
Like let's see, these 3.
Okay.
And so I had this finger here. Kind of, I needed to type like this.
Oh Jesus!
And because the cast was so thick, I couldn't like rest my hand and then just kind of like, I needed to hold my arm up and like.
What a nightmare.
Damn, you must have gotten a workout just having to,
Yeah, right.
Oh my
right.
God, I had so many knots in my shoulder after this was done. but so this is where I got lucky, right? Because it was my right hand. It turns out that in programming, I use like tab and autocomplete a lot in my code editor. That was the first thing that saved me. And the second thing is in code, like you tend to use the words get and set a lot. And so get and set and tab autocomplete. So most of the coding ended up happening with like left hand. And if it wasn't for that, like the whole thing would have to have been pushed by like a month or so.
Oh man.
I ended up pushing the last code that like actually made everything work 3 hours before the deadline of like going live.
Oh my
Wow.
god.
Holy smokes.
Wow. Talk about to the wire. That's great.
You do the best work under pressure, though, right?
right? I mean,
Pressure
like,
diamonds, Chris.
yeah.
Right? Yeah. No, I'm not putting those constraints on myself again. But that's just.
So
Well,
when did this go live on Global Comix? Was it recently?
Yeah, that was the end of August. I think it was.
Oh wow! So that was really
25th.
okay.
Yeah.
And are you seeing a lot of people taking advantage of it yet?
I didn't check recently, so let's see. When we launched this, with our pre-seeding, we had 2,200 books for sale, and
wow.
as of right now, there are 3,939. So
Oh wow,
like,
that's
just about 4,000.
That's actually really good in a month. Like it's only been like a what, 2 months? No, almost 2 months, I guess.
It hasn't even been a month.
Oh, so it was end of August that you guys did this.
Yeah.
Oh, end of August. Okay.
Yeah. So it hasn't even been a month yet.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive.
That is impressive. So now these books are not only people can use them as, for Kickstarter rewards, things like that, but they can also buy them on the website. Is that true?
Yeah, and as a because this is what we do, right? Like when we look at these things, we're like, okay, what's the bare bones? It's like, okay, well, the bare bones is people can go and put their books up and put them for sale. Cool. How do we make this awesome for the creators? Next question, right? And so we had this scoping meeting, Eric and Kevin and I, we were like, okay, well, what else comes with this? How do we make this, like a really awesome tool for creators? And so what came out of that was, okay, well, we're going to launch with books for sale, but we're also going to let creators create their own discounts.
Cool.
And we're going to let creators create bundles of PDFs, and we're going to let them assign the discount in the bundle. Right. So it's kind of like you can take book 1 through 5 and you can say, okay, well, the normal price would be, $199 times 4. So you end up with $796 or whatever it is.
Right.
And then apply a 30% discount and you get, okay, here's sales price. And then we're like, how do we avoid these like weird numbers? So then we let people kind of define a maximum amount on the discount so that they could end up setting. So the net price ended up, like $5.99 or $4.99 or whatever, right? Like whatever price they want it to be. And then we're like, I should just let people also permanently discount their own books so that we can show that like price with line through in the discovery section. So that was a little effort. It took me an extra day worth of work, but the net result is, now we have a product that puts the power in the hands of creators for running their own sales campaigns, being able to run their own promotions, running their own discounts, and running bundles and themed things. And we've seen, I call it a couple dozen creators that have started to see some pretty decent success working this through. It's a pretty new service, and so everyone's kind of like experimenting at this point. But as people figure out what works and what doesn't work, and as we go into the various different forms of holiday season, we're pretty confident that creators will be more than happy with the results as they promote themselves.
That's great. Like, cause like, well, I mean, just the jump in 1 month is impressive. So I already, that's huge over Comixology right away, because I don't have anything on Comixology anymore, but when I did have stuff on the submit section there, you could only, if I remember right, you could only do sales when they were doing sales. Like you couldn't just go on there and say, I want to do a sale of my stuff. Like you had to only do it when they did it. So right that's huge, that's awesome. And so any creator can have like any sale at any time. It doesn't have to have any reason behind it. That's great. Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, you could even schedule when you want to publish the book.
So, is that true? Oh, wow.
Yes. So actually, this is an example. I was going to save it to the end of the show, but I actually put up a 4-page short that should have launched right at the beginning of the show.
Oh, really?
So finish watching the show first, and then you can run over to Global Comix, go to the Showy page, and then you can have the comic for free.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great, Johnny. Yeah, people take advantage of that. Go to Global Comix after this. Great.
Oh, 47 minutes ago.
Yeah.
There you
go. That's great. That's really cool. Like, I love that idea. It's actually kind of like YouTube in a lot of ways, because you can, schedule videos to drop at certain times. That's awesome. That's definitely forward thinking, I think, as far as like what an indie creator would want, And so in order, one question I had about the whole Kickstarter downloads and things like that, if you had a Kickstarter, so if you were going to offer a free PDF to somebody that's backing your book,
mm-hmm.
and the person doesn't have a Global Comix account, is it still possible to get a PDF?
They need to create an account.
They need to. Okay,
and
so
they would need I'll tell you why, right? Like,
okay,
it isn't even about like, oh, we need to convert people. Yeah. It's that the way the PDF downloads work on Global Comix.
Okay.
It's not like you take your PDF and you upload and you say, okay, I'm going to make this for sale.
Yeah.
It's that you have your releases or your books already uploaded. Maybe you uploaded it through a PDF. Maybe you uploaded it through a zip of PNGs. Maybe you pulled every page in one by one, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And we actually take the really high resolution originals and we generate a unique PDF for every single person that purchases it. And we stick this little seal of authentication as a separate page at the end of it. And we permanently store that PDF for that user specifically. So even if the creator or publisher takes down their books, like, it's vaulted and it's there forever for them to be able to access.
Okay.
So, Chris, real quick, I know that there's some functionality in Global Comix where you can actually add text post uploading. Does it capture that as well on the PDF, or does it only?
That feature is still in like prototype stage, so like, you can have fun with it in a reading experience. It doesn't combine with like PDF sales at this time. But like, dude, vector text with like coordinates, it's not very hard to like stick on top of an image, right? Like,
right.
Whatever.
I just thought it was really cool that, like, so, even in one of my books, there's actually issue 1 and I think issue 2 of Sartana on Global Comix has stuff that I put in post uploading. So I actually added additional dialogue and content exclusively on the site. And that's why I was asking, is like, I wondered if that translated to the PDF download. But that's another cool thing too, is that you can actually, continue and add on to your work technically on the site itself.
Well, that's another thing, right? Like, because we're generating these PDFs, we have an admin UI that lets us do it. If we need to, like, we'll expose it to the end user also. But it means that if someone's purchased a book and, the creator goes in and redoes a bunch of pages or like fixes a bunch of errors or whatever, they can regenerate new versions of the book with the corrections. And that'll be vaulted too. Right. So
cool.
It's a much more dynamic experience than simply uploading a file that people then clone.
No, the vaulting thing is really, that's a great idea, because I mean you get creators that come in and out of comics all the time. Like, I mean, and Johnny, I mean, we've seen people come and go, and like, you know, even the past few years with conventions and stuff. That's a really great idea, so that like people, they just buy it and they have it forever. You know, that's great. I love that idea of that.
But even minted by Global
Right,
Comix, so to
like it's
speak.
like
Yep.
it's your own unique copy. I mean, and I didn't mean anything by saying like, people should have or shouldn't have a Global Comics account. They should,
No, they
'cause I think
absolutely should. But
yeah, definitely.
But I
Well,
mean,
you
it
always get
doesn't
that one
cost you anything.
person. You always get that one person that'll back you and be like, "Do I have to sign up for this?" You know what I mean? They don't
Yeah.
want to sign up for another thing, you know. Or
But how do you lose though, right? It's free to sign up the account. You're now getting the promo code to read the content online. So, you can just go to a website and read it, or you can download the PDF if that's your flavor. You know what I mean?
right, yeah. And I love the subscription formula that you guys do for Global Comics. I think that's such a great idea, and it's sort of like the model that everybody's used to with streaming movies and TV shows. You know, it's like you pay like I forget what the fee is for a month on Global Comics. Is it?
It's $7.99 recurring,
That's
but
perfect,
we're running a promotion. $1.99 for your first month. So
Oh, really? That's great.
coming
That's
in
awesome.
and getting your toes wet is super cheap, very affordable.
Yeah, and you guys get a ton. I mean, honestly, a ton of stuff. How many comics would you say is on Global Comics right now?
There are, let's see, 18,800 published books.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So
That's
I
amazing.
was alluding to it earlier, but you actually had some new partnerships. You have indie labels that have recently signed on. Can you share a little bit about that?
Oh yeah. So start of the summer we brought on Valiant.
That's a huge one.
We towards the end of the summer, in combination with bringing PDF sales out, we brought on the full catalog of Top Cow.
Oh.
In between Valiant and Top Cow, there were somewhere around like 1,000-ish vertical comics creators that signed up amidst a really big growth spurt that brought in, like another 1,000 series, as it were. And so like we had a really nice mix between here's like established publishers and here's like indie webcomic creators coming on board. And so what worked so well with that 1, 2, 3 punch for us is that we were able to not favor any one over the other, because there were so much new of all of the kinds of comics that we were able to, and here's the new indie creators, and here's the new print creators, and here's new manga, and here's new from publishers, right?
That's awesome.
And over the course of the summer alone, we've gained some 5,000 books. This time last year, we were probably at like 6,000 books total.
Wow. Wow, that's a big jump.
Huge.
So, and the cool news is that we have a lot more in the pipeline.
That's
So
awesome.
when I saw Eric at C2E2 and at San Diego this past year, he teased that you guys have some big things coming for New York Comic Con. Can you talk about any of that right now?
Yeah, we're gonna, let's see, how do I put this? We're gonna do things that are really cool in the comics industry.
Okay. No, I like
You've
that.
been doing that though.
So you guys will be at New York. Do you have like a big booth, or what's the layout there for New York?
So for the last 6, 7 maybe conventions, we've been sharing booth with various folks and friendlies. Like we've shared with Heavy Metal, we've shared with SourcePoint Press, we've shared with a couple of other folks also. And for New York Comic Con, the folks over at SourcePoint were like, we've got a really big booth. We'd love to have you guys over. So we're like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, they do have a big booth. I last year it was like one of the biggest ones there, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think Travis said something similar about this year too. So we're going to be at New York Comic Con, and we're going to be sharing booth with the Source Point folks.
Nice,
Awesome.
very cool. I like that. That just helps them. It helps you. It's a win-win situation. Is there any small indie publisher that you guys don't have on Global Comix that you do want?
I mean, sure.
Is Image there yet?
like I'm going to give you an answer that will like put things into perspective for a moment. I would like to get Egmont. It's not really a small indie publisher, but to the same tune, I'd say I'd love to get. How does it translate? It's called The Comic Publisher. It's a Norwegian publisher. It's called Tegneserieforlaget, which means the comic publisher.
Okay.
Like there's so many comics that come from beyond the US that me being a European is like, I can't wait until we can get these folks and these folks and these folks and these folks. So and then like show, like the rest of the comics world stuff that they haven't seen. The most likely y'all are gonna be like, oh shit, this is dope. Right.
That's awesome. So you're like the day walker of comics. Like you got one foot in each. That's a great place to be though. So for instance, you were just saying that publisher, the comic publisher. So you would take their books, put them into English, and then offer them to the Global Comix audience.
I haven't had any conversations with
but that's sort of like what you're thinking though, right?
I know that some of their content is already translated and localized into English.
Okay.
Right. And I'd take like Norwegian stuff, I'd take the Danish stuff, I'd take the French, Belgian stuff, whatever. I'd take English stuff too. For the Norwegian stuff, like since I am a Norwegian person personally, like I'd be like, okay, well, how can we help you get these things into English? I have a personal vested interest into that because my country and whatever. But that was like the other interesting content play that we did this summer at the start of summer was together with AWA Studios, right? Where they had this new book or universe called Lesser Evils. Okay. And we worked with them to bring that book online in 6 languages simultaneously. So that launched that launched in English and in French and in Italian and Spanish and Hindi and Brazilian Portuguese.
Oh my god!
Day and day, like multi-language, everything in both traditional format and vertical scroll format.
Wow.
So we've been piloting this idea of helping creators and publishers do localization. So it would be well within our capabilities of doing that this time. But like who knows? I really want to get in touch with some of those Norwegian publishers.
I think it's an amazing idea. Like, think about all the UK creators that are huge over here, that came from, like Garth Ennis and Neil Gaiman, all those guys came from overseas, and just, think about all the indie creators we're not seeing, I think that's a world of possibilities. Go ahead, John. I was just
going to say, there isn't a lot of digital comics or comic entities that bridge the international gap. And I think that's really something that Global Comix can do. And I know you've talked a little bit about it before, Chris, in the past about, translations and things like that. And I think that would be so cool to have that functionality and to be able to be a U.S. creator presenting, your work to somebody overseas in a variety of different languages and manners. And even just for you as a creator, having the companies that you love as a comic reader be a part of your platform,
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. I was thinking of what kind of joke I should make about bridging this like proverbial gap of regions, and the best thing I could come up with was, well, if it's in the name, it's in the name, right? Like,
Right.
so.
Yeah, true, right? It really is. So now Global Comics would now, like, say if Marvel or DC came to you and said, "Hey, we want to be on your platform," what would you? Are they too big to be on the platform, or are they too mainstream, or what is your
No,
thoughts there?
sure.
Okay,
Like Global Comics is open to almost everyone that wants to publish,
gotcha.
right?
Okay,
And it, there is no separation between a one-man show doing stuff
and the
or
full entity.
like the biggest publisher in the world.
I love it. I love it,
Um,
and I
and
love that you guys don't like. I don't think discriminate's the right word, but like
pick favorites.
favor like a small creator versus, like Image Comics coming to you and saying, I want to be on the
It's almost
platform.
like a great
It's like,
equalizer, right?
yeah, they're like everyone's equal on Global Comics. I like that. I like that aspect of it. All the creators are treated equal. Uh,
Well, see, here's what I believe, right? Like, I believe that good stories rise to the top naturally,
yes.
if they are given the opportunity to do so, right? And so, um, for a business or a platform like ours, what that means is that we need to have really, really, really solid discoverability, right? And it kind of needs to be three prongs, right? Like the browsing experience on Global Comics has an immense amount of filters, right? Like themes and audience and ratings and genres and countries and languages and like all of these things.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the choose your own adventure. I'm looking for something. I'm going to narrow it down by tweaking some knobs, right? And then the other part is kind of like recommended by us. And so our homepage right now serves that function where, we're doing an immense amount of curation of comics and different kinds of comics and like people to follow and like all of these things kind of like in the homepage experience. And we're trying to, because we rotate out so much every week, we try to, even if we can't get every kind of group on the promotion space every week, we try to like get everything sequentially. But what it means ultimately is that like we end up curating and featuring and spotlighting hundreds of comics and hundreds of, or at least dozens of creators on the homepage every single week.
Awesome.
And when we have that engine working between like choose your own adventure and kind of like curated by us, there's only one piece that's missing, and you get that when you're logged in. That's personalized and recommended for you based on like your consumption habits. And we've developed a pretty robust and capable algorithm that kind of like looks at a comic and says, okay, well, how do I find something that's similar to it? And a lot of that is thanks to the very rich set of taxonomy and tags and filters and facets and things, as well as kind of being smart about people's consumption habits, right? So if you finish every single chapter of a series, you are way more into that chapter than if you happen to have gone into, I don't know, like 5 of 20 chapters and read a couple pages, but then stopped, right?
Gotcha.
And looking at things like that allows us to make, unbiased recommendations to folks, right? Where we can just say like, okay, well, this is similar to that, and like add in what your preferences are. Would you like more of this? But we couldn't only have that. We need to have the curated part, and we need to have the choose your own adventure, so that we don't create an echo chamber where it's just more of the same all the time. Right? Like
Gotcha.
you kind of have to be discovering new things from external sources and influences for that engine to work really well.
Gotcha. I like that though. I like that you guys are actively thinking about that, where it's like, like people just throw algorithms together, and it's like not even a thought, beyond that, so that's great. I do get your I think I do get your email, like the emails that come out every week or every other week with just recommendations or whatever, and I always look through that just to see what you guys have on there, and it's good lists, so definitely.
All of that is Kevin and Kat that's curating and putting together and like writing the emails out and sending it out to y'all.
Nice. That's awesome. I love that Global Comix is growing, it's definitely
me too,
great.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, no, and I love that it wasn't just a flash in the pan, because I mean, Johnny, how many times have you seen somebody in San Diego come up to you going, "Oh my God, I got this new website. You're gonna want to be a part of this and this and that," and they're gone 2 months later, or there's nothing on there, and
So, and that's the funny thing too, is that those were like these large corporate entity pushes where they thought they could dabble in comics, and they kind of build something, and it doesn't, like you said, doesn't really go anywhere. When the coolest thing about how Global Comix roped me in at C2E2 2020 is that they had somebody with a sign said, "Make a quick comic and upload it. Ask me how." Like, it was a quick 3-minute comic thing, and they compiled it, and they did it right through the platform, and they were showing us, like, I uploaded my comic at a bar. You know what I mean? That's how easy it was. You know what I mean? Like,
that's great.
It was just so cool. And I knew, like I said, I always knew that there was something here. And it's awesome to see.
Your excitement is what really kind of got me to check them out too, because you don't throw that around easily, like, because you've seen a lot of flash in the pan stuff too. But when you were really on board about Global, I was like, okay, they got to check these guys out. This sounds awesome.
Yeah, I was kind of glad to be ahead of the curve.
And you're such a heart warmer, Johnny. I don't have enough compliments and thank yous and positive things to say. I've run out.
Well, no, man, it's all good. I really, I feel like I was blessed to, meet you guys back that February, or that whenever it was, at C2E2 2020, just because it's like it was fated to be. Like, I was meant to find a new platform that got me really excited about digital comics, because everybody else wasn't doing it yet, and somehow fate's put you guys in our paths, and I think that's awesome. Now, Chris, are you going to be doing anything for, like, say, expanding into publishing, maybe homegrown creators or anything along those lines?
What do you mean by publishing?
Like
are you going to be
print comics, or is that what you're saying, Johnny?
Or even just putting together, like, this is a Global Comix comic, so to speak.
Oh, like
another
originals?
anthology or something.
Yeah. Well, no, as opposed to just white labeling originals from other people, homegrown originals, cherry picking artist teams. Project,
what he's saying, Chris, is when are you going to write your comic?
Oh, you definitely don't want me writing prose. Let's see. So yeah, I mean, at some point in the future, Global Comix is definitely going to have some form of kind of I hesitate to call it originals. It's what, like, every other platform calls it. But I don't really want to just kind of like think about that from the perspective of, oh, we should have some original comics, right? Like,
yeah.
One of the things that we have to be very cognizant about when we think about something like that is, how does that play with an ecosystem and a marketplace that has a lot of other creators, right? Because if we start producing our own stuff, it's very easy to go down the rabbit hole of saying, like, okay, well, we're going to promote that over everyone else more. Right. And so, I can say that there will definitely be things that are originals, or that are, like, uniquely sourced from us, whether we produce it or we white label or whatever that is. But exactly how that plays out, most likely not in any way that you kind of expect it to be playing out, right? Like, because we need to make sure that the ecosystem health is maintained no matter what. Like that's the top priority.
So I love that. Like, that's awesome. You know, like you're not
That's a
looking to
great
be
mission
like,
statement.
well, here's Global Comix stuff and here's everybody else's stuff. That's amazing. That's awesome. I love that you're approaching it from the community angle. You know.
Well, we have to, right? Like I said earlier on, right? Like if you are having conversations with your constituents and you are actively trying to solve their pain points, sooner or later you're going to be successful, right? Like in the same way, that means not making harmful decisions and being very thoughtful and mindful about how one introduces not so much friction, but like competition, I'd say, or like these things. I don't think that there's anything wrong with Global Comix making Global Comix comics.
Yeah.
I think that there's a million and one ways that we can do it, and I'm really confident that we can find ways of doing it that truly benefits creators also in the process.
Well, you guys kind of did it a little bit with the COVID comic, the COVID anthology.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I was just curious to think, like, where could you expand that, or how could you grow upon that?
There's there's a lot for me to think about, and I would venture to say, like sometime next year, I'll probably have more clear thoughts on that space. It's a big undertaking, right? Like, dude, y'all make comics. You know how big this is.
Oh my god, yeah.
It's
not easy. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
it's not easy.
Well, don't worry, Chris. We'll have you back on so that when you get to that point, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right. We got some great comments too. Story Comics says great interview, Keith and Johnny. Also,
Thank you.
Some love for Global Comix. Says Global Comix are amazing.
We concur.
Thank you, Story Comic.
Yeah. Let's see what else. There was some other really good ones. Dr. Mass says, I wonder how the algorithm would work on me. I am all over the board. Any thought there? Is it somebody that has wildly taste everywhere that would?
Yeah. The algorithm is also forgetful. And so it'll like update with you without a bias necessarily for the 1,000,001 Little Pony things that you happened to read 3 months ago, right? Like, it's not going to just give you ponies and horses as suggestions, because I think kind of the fact that you are all over the place makes it. Like, I wonder if the recommendation or the suggestion engine might be even more potent for you than for someone that only kind of sits in one place as far as themes and genres, because you'll end up getting if we say that this is like the size of the pie that you can look at, instead of having like this little region of here, let me suggest from here, it's kind of like you have 8 or 9 or 10 of those regions that you can pull from. And so you get the opportunity to be recommended more high quality comics when you take that aggregate comparison. I actually want to see too. Go create an account, spend like a week reading, and then show me. I want to see how this plays out.
Yeah, that sounds great. Harry has a funny comment here.
I was going to say, there's also lots of free titles on Global Comix.
Yeah, there is. Yeah,
sign up and read some free books.
Harry says, I think as an added bonus to any comic, you should give advice on wiping with a broken hand and other useful advice.
Very carefully.
Okay. I got this. So when you break your right hand and you got to take care of business, you use your left hand.
Exactly.
Chris became ambidextrous.
I definitely learned. I tweaked my dexterity and accuracy with my left hand significantly. the first 3 days using a mouse was absolutely horrible. Like I'd just like spasm and the mouse would go all over the place. By the end of it, though, I was pretty accurate. Like
That's
Cool,
awesome.
cool.
Dr. Mass said a lot of good things happen at a bar. Pretty sure America was founded at the pub. Yeah.
Yes. Amen.
And then he said, thanks for explaining it. I'm checking it out now.
Oh,
So that's
awesome.
awesome. So I think you picked up a new reader on
Nice.
the show tonight, which is great. And yeah, like Johnny was saying, there is a lot of free stuff on there, which is great. Included, I think I put all my first issues for free, and then the later issues as paid, paywall or whatever you want to call it. And I think that's a great way to get readers to even just check out the first one, even if they don't come back for more. At least someone read it, right? Or, that's the way I look at it.
And then you get the email with the analytics, and then you get I always love getting those weekly analytic emails because I open it up and it shows me collected right there, like, oh, you had 3 people read your book this week, you had 7 people read your book this week. If I wanted to drill down further, I could see at what page they stopped. Like that's how
right, and kind of get an idea.
Fine-tune. Yeah, it's really cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, that's become a thing on Twitter that I kind of want to help and support. Like on Mondays, there's a group of creators that are like Monday Analytics Day, and they're like talking about that every single Monday. The emails go out at 11 a.m. Eastern on Mondays, and so that's part of my Monday morning routine is being like, okay, what analytics conversations are going to be happening today?
I love it. Well, that's the data, right? Data is everything, right? So it's like I love that you can see where people stop too, because that kind of like gives you like an idea whether your story's working or not. In some ways, or where you can fine tune story points and things like that. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, like on average, with standard paginated comics, digital comics, you need about 10 pages for people to decide whether or not they're into the story and are interested in reading more. And like the old adage, I think, is like 6 to 7 pages, but that doesn't account for the cover page and the like insides and like credits and whatever that usually comes on top of it, right? Yeah. And so it's like 6 to 7 pages of pure story. So in digital world, that is like the 10 first pages, 10 or 12. And we see, for across all comics in aggregate, if you get to like page 10, 11-ish, you are like 15 times more likely to finish the rest of the comic. So for creators wondering, like how do you hook a reader? Like do it in the first pages, like in the first 10 pages. Make sure you have something that has them go like, oh man, I want to figure out what's happening next.
Right. And I think there's a lot of sense to that, because a lot of submissions to indie publishers, they only want to see the first 8 to 10 pages.
Well, one of the things that happens with digital that doesn't happen with physical is that, and especially if you go to the store, right? Like you go to the store and you pick up a magazine, you're like skimming it and you're skimming all of the pages and all of the art. And you're like, oh yeah, like this art style. Oh yeah, cool. Right. Like this looks interesting. Oh, there's a scene, someone gets punched in the face. Okay, cool. Like I want to read this.
Right.
You don't get that with digital comics because it's like it's a linear discovery process. Once you start looking at a book, you don't really end up going, I'm going to look at page 37 and then 15, right? Like that doesn't happen. And so the storytelling hook had like it requires more hook and more kind of like storytelling early on. That being said, like it's not necessarily a must-have, but being aware of that certainly makes it easier for you to kind of like get people through that funnel, as it were.
Nice. Yeah. No, I think that's I love that you guys have the analytics available to everybody. It's like really like real good information for helping you as a creator as well. So we've been going almost an hour and 20 minutes, which is crazy.
Wow, has it been that long?
Yeah, it's even nuts. Like it flies. Like Johnny, any last questions you wanted to talk about, or Chris, anything else that we missed that might have been added in the last year that people might want to know about, creators or readers?
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Um,
So we got the PDF downloads. We got the analytics. What was the other thing that we mentioned, Johnny?
we
Talent
got
Marketplace.
Valiant.
Talent Marketplace.
We got Talent Marketplace. We've got Valiant on there now. Top Cow. Source Point Press has got books on there, so they've expanded exponentially since even the last time they've been on, which
Yeah.
I think was maybe about a year. So
Yep.
and if you can think about all that's happened in that time frame, imagine what a year from now is going to be like.
Right. It's crazy.
And then a year from that, and then a
Right,
year
yeah,
from
it's
that.
awesome.
So
We have a set of native mobile apps for phone and tablet in development.
Nice.
That we're going to be launching hopefully end of Q4. But if quality dictates that it requires a reload over into Q1, that's fine too, right? Like we're not going to rush this out as much as we're going to deliver a really, really amazing experience.
Oh,
And
nice. Like the sound
kind
of
of
that.
as a last leaving the creators and readers in here with a little nugget. I've shared this in private now with somewhere between 15 and 20 people, ranging from influential publishers to influential indie creators to news outlets like Comic Book Yeti, and a couple other different places. I have and this is not kind of like tooting a horn, but the feedback is absolutely 100% unanimous in that this app is going to change the game of comics consumption.
Really? Oh, wow.
awesome. I love
Nice.
hearing that.
So Q4 this year or Q1 next year is the goal to get it out. The soft,
Indeed.
soft
So
release.
creators, get your books up in time for that, because when that launches, there's a rocket ship somewhere, and I'm going to be on it.
Nice.
Yes,
I like that.
I
That's
love
great.
that.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
readers, don't forget you can get Global Comix right now. Your first month for $1.99.
Yeah, and
Like,
the account
what a-
to create the
what a
account is
bargain.
free. To read a lot of books is free.
And
Yeah,
like
it's-
I said, I uploaded a 4-page short for free at the beginning of the show, so you can head over there, sign up an account, and that can be the first thing you read.
Nice. I love it. I just put the link to Global Comix in the chat, so if you guys want to check that out. It's also in the description of the video below. Johnny, any other questions for Chris about Global Comix or?
No, I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to come on the show, Chris. I know you're a very busy man. You've got a lot going on. So just taking a little bit of time to spend with us, we greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Dude, anytime. And also make your way up to New York. Like let's do a thing for an evening.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say, like, so I'm not going to New York Comic Con, so I'm bummed to miss that. But traditionally, the Twins Pub, the Friday night at Comic Con, we have a big creator get together, and I'm gonna try to make it out for that. And Chris, I'll give you the details. But even other creators who are watching, Twins Pub, Friday night at Comic Con, New York, 8th Ave or 9th, 8th or 9th Ave, Twins Pub, New York, right around the corner from Madison Square Garden. Hope to see you guys there.
Likewise,
Awesome.
man.
Awesome.
Well, thanks so much for having me on. I am so glad and happy and excited to come on, because I love our conversations. I have so much fun. So
Yeah,
anytime,
definitely.
like let's do this again.
Yeah, I know. We
Awesome.
should do this
Thank
like
you.
a yearly thing, because I'd love to check in with you every year to see how much bigger Global Comix gets. You know?
Just don't forget the little guys, Chris. That's all.
No, well,
Never.
Johnny, never. I mean, the way their philosophy is not to do that. So
Right, exactly,
The-
exactly.
Or the mission statement, to put it in like business terms, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
That's
but
right.
that's awesome. So, Johnny, anything else going on in your neck of the woods that you want to mention before we wrap this one up?
No, just like I said, Twins Pub for New York Comic Con.
That's New York
see.
Comic Con is what, in 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Yeah, it's the second weekend of October.
Yeah.
And then we've got, you and I have got the Athol Public Library show coming
Yeah,
up
the
on
week
October
before,
1st.
right? Yep.
Yep,
That's gonna be great. I
And,
gotta share a post about that.
Yep. And then, again, thank you, Chris, for coming on, and everybody just be excellent to each other.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
I reiterate what Johnny said. Thank you for coming on, Chris, as always. I love seeing that Global Comix is doing some different things and finding a lot of success in doing that. So congrats to you. And I love that you're a proponent for the indie creator too. I think that's an amazing thing. Also check out Mighty Mascots 7, 8, and 9 on Indiegogo now. 12 days left. And we are about 200 away from locking the $7,000 stretch goal. And then ultimately, I'd love to get to 10,000 to unlock that stretch goal as well. So if you're watching that, the link is below in the description of the video. That's all I got to say, guys. Thank you for joining us as always. And go read some digital comics on Global Comix. And anything else before we wrap this up, guys? No?
Just stay cool, folks.
All right. Have a great week, everybody. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode of Indie Comics Relay. Peace.